Hi, everyone. It's me again. So just let me know if you can hear me. Perfect. Great. Okay. So we're just going to go ahead. So I'm going to begin from the top, where we were talking about the actual difference between master and composition and the fact that you cannot understand publishing if you do not understand this difference. So the master recording the recording is the performance itself. And the composition deals with the lyrics and deals with the sound, deals with the beats. So on the composition end, you're looking at the artist who probably wrote the song. You're looking at the producer who probably, produced the beats, and a couple of other contributors, because sometimes you have more than one person who is the writer on the song. Sometimes you have multiple writers on the song. So these multiple writers will likely have publishing shares. And then you have the producer. Sometimes you have multiple producers as well. You have a co-producer. You have someone who's done an instrumental that's very important to the recording, and they're asking for a publishing share. So you could have an instrumentalist, say, for instance, a guitarist or a violinist or a pianist. Anybody who is contributing to the sound or the lyrics. And that's the part we're going to be focusing on for the publishing. So publishing is basically royalties that accrues on the composition end. So when we talk about publishing, then we go into the details of who collects publishing, where does publishing emanate from, and what sorts of royalties do you get from the publishing end. So specifically, publishing has many parts to it, right? It has the mechanical parts. It has public performance. Well, of course, public performance will fall under performance royalties. So let's take it in two trunks. So we'll have the performance, and then we'll have the mechanical. And I would also like to speak on PROs, speak on publishers and what each party does. So the way we have the master recording, and the person who paid for the recording most times owns the masters, label, the artist, depending on the situation. For the composition, right, depending on the kind of deal that an artist or a producer or a songwriter is involved in, you could own 100% of the composition rights, or you could own a part of it. Right. Let me just note it here so that I can also mention to you the types of, we can discuss the types of publishing deals that you might get, because I hadn't noted that down. Right. So when you come on the composition side, as a producer, most times the sound is accorded 50% of the publishing, and then the lyrics is accorded 50%. It's not necessarily the same in every instance. And please, I want to just state it here that whatever I'm talking about in terms of percentage, splits and all, it's not a one size fits all. It's always a matter of negotiation. It's always about how you can negotiate. What are you bringing to the table, and how do you negotiate your share? So sometimes you have producers having 50%. Other times you have the artists having more than 50%. It depends on the situation, right? So let's assume that it's a situation where there's a 50-50. So whoever's contributed to the lyrics will share a part of it, 50, which is dedicated to the lyrics, and then 50, which is dedicated to the sound, goes to the producer, the co-producer, and all the other parties that have contributed to the sound. So in that instance, you have 50% share of the entire publishing or the entire composition. But that your 50% now becomes 100% when you are dealing with PROs like BMI, when you are dealing with your publisher, it becomes 100%. And I need you to pay attention, because these percentages are very important when you're talking about publishing. You need to know what is the publisher's share, what is the writer's share, who is paying what. Right. Okay, so let's talk about, we've established what publishing is and where publishing comes from, which is the composition. Now let's talk about what is a PRO. I think that's something that is always very confusing to a lot of people. What is a PRO and what do they do? And, how do they come into play on the publishing end? So PRO stands for Performance Rights Organizations. And just as the name is performance, they pay out performance royalties usually, right? So, and again, I would always say it's not a one size fits all. Different territories have different things that apply to them, right? You can go to the US and you have a PRO like ASCAP, you have BMI, and it applies differently in somewhere in Europe. It applies differently in Africa. For instance, in Nigeria, NCSN collects for both performance mechanisms. But let me first establish the fact that publishing is divided into performance royalties and mechanical royalties. So there are different parties who collect publishing. There are parties who collect performance royalties, and then there's a party that collects the mechanical royalties. So the PROs, which are called performance rights organizations, they collect performance publishing income. And what happens on the PRO end, and I'm using the instance of BMI and the rest of the American, as well as UK, which is PRS, and Canadian, because these are much more popular and kind of to a large extent, not necessarily the standard, but to a large extent, the understanding of how this works, it would help to build a foundation, right? Different territories, like I said, have different ways that it collects. So we're going to use this as a standard just so that you can understand how it works. So BMI, PROs, what happens with BMI is you get paid your performance rights income, right? When your song is performed in public, where your song is performed on radio, where your song is performed in different places, as long as it is a performance, right? They are responsible for paying our performance royalties. Whenever royalties accrued on the performance, right? BMI or PROs pay out. Now, I need you to understand that there's something called a writer's share and a publisher's share. The reason why this is important to make a distinction is because, like I said, we'll go back to that 100%. When you're talking about writer's share, it is 50% of that 100%. So let's say you have a song with Young John as a producer, right? Young John has 50% on the song, you have 50% on the song. Now that's your 50% that you have on the composition, on the composition side, becomes 100% when you register it on BMI. When you include your details on BMI, then BMI captures it. That 100% is now split into two, split further into two. They have the writer's share, 50%, and you have the publisher's share for another 50%. Now, you can, of course, decide to make, you can decide to say, okay, you know what, I want to be the writer and I want to be the publisher. When you register with EMI or any of these PROs, right? They give you the option to register as both writer and publisher. I'll tell you why it's important that you engage the services of a publisher. So when you register, that 100% becomes, that's your 50 from the track becomes 100. And that 100 is further split into two. You have the writer's share, which when you register with the PRO, they collect and pay to you directly. They collect this writer's share, they pay to you directly. That's the 50%. On the other side, the publisher's share, the 50% is then paid out to your publisher. So whoever you have listed as your publisher, whether you've listed it on PRO's platform or you have a publisher you've signed up with, that publisher goes and collects the publisher's share. They don't have anything to do with your writer's share. Your writer's share is paid to you directly. But the thing is, a lot of these PROs have a sign-up fee. And if you're not able to make the sign-up fee, then your writer's income is just sitting somewhere. No one is collecting your writer's income. And that's the reason why, Yivera, we have said, you know what, instead of it to be sitting down somewhere, we are willing to collect writer share for you. You just have to authorize us, right? So our publishing contract now has made provision for us to be able to collect your writer's shares, simply because we understand that sometimes you're not able to come up with a $50 or $75 or £100 in case of PRS to register for a PRO service. So we're able to collect your writer's share and pay it to you, right? Instead of it to just be sitting there somewhere. Because when you're not, because generally publishers are only supposed to collect publisher share. So if we're not authorized to collect your writer's share, it's sitting somewhere. So if you're making income on the publishing end, you're equally making income on the writer's end. And if no one is collecting it, it's there. It's not going to be paid out to anyone. So on that note, I think we would say that we understand what PROs serve for, what they do, and how they collect. So on that note, I would like us to move on to the next one, which is publisher share. So on the publisher share, my apologies, I just like to make notes while I'm going because I don't want to forget something that I want to talk about later on. So let me just put this down. The way that you would fill your publisher's information on Yivera, I need to be able to guide you on that. Okay, so now let's move on to the publisher share. So the publisher share is the other 50% that we are then going to collect as your publisher. So when you sign up a publishing agreement, whether it's with an administrator, whether it's with Yivera, who's a DIY publisher, or a Song Trust, or any of these other publishing firms, once you sign up, they are then authorized to collect publisher share. But don't forget that your writer's share will still be somewhere accruing. And before I go on, I'd like to say this. A lot of times artists sign up for publishing, then they are waiting for income. Income is not coming. I need to tell you now that if you're not putting efforts in your music, if you're not treating your music as a business, marketing it, putting in effort to make sure that everybody is hearing your music, there is a tendency that you will not be making publishing income either, because your publishing income flows from how well your song is doing. If your song is not doing well, you can't expect to make income, right? So you can only make income on publishing when your song is doing well. So if you're in this business for the business of it, then you have to find ways to make the songs, generate income for you. And the best way I can advise is marketing. And, we always have series on marketing. We always have series on how you can improve your brand as an artist. So please make sure that you are always, signing up for those seminars and webinars and, platforms, so that you can understand how to monetize your music and make money. And as you're making money on the streaming end, on the masses end, you're also making money on the publisher's end. But just understand that if you're not making money on the music, there's no money on the publishing either. So I just needed to clarify that, because a lot of times artists are like, once you talk about publishing, they're, oh yes, money. But yeah, the money doesn't come from the sky, it comes from the music. So let's talk about who the publisher is and what they do for you. So the PROs who you've registered with are collecting your writer's share, or paying your writer's share directly. They would pay the publisher. If you have a publisher, they'll pay the publisher directly the publisher share, and then the publisher pays out the publisher share to you based on the agreed percentages. Now, what you should understand is, if you want to register as on PRO as a publisher, you can, no problem. But the thing is, There are different deals with publishers, and it depends on what you sign up for. You could be getting much more than just, the regular administration of your music. Publishers do much more than just collect your royalties. A lot of times, publishers do much more than just collect your royalties. Publishers sometimes can put you in rooms. They can pair you up with artists that would, that would elevate your catalog. They can pair you up with producers that would do a really good job for you. So publishers do much more than just collect. Now, there are different types of publishing. There are different types of publishing deals. There are different types of publishing deals. You have the deal that is an admin deal, such as what you have with a Song Trust or what you have with the Yivera, where you upload your work, you tell us what songs you want us to collect, and we go and collect it. There are other deals where you could be given an advance. For instance, your song is doing really well, right? And a publisher is like, okay, you know what? We want to invest in this artist. They take your composition rights, the publishing rights, and they give you an advance based on what you're doing, based on the fact that they see some possibility of you making good income in the future. They give you an advance and they recoup on the publishing royalties as time goes on. And now the interesting thing about that situation is no publisher would be interested in giving you an advance if you're not already making money, doing well. Victor, please, can you just mute everyone so that we don't have any interruptions? So if your music isn't doing well, there are chances that you are not qualified, you would qualify for an advance on the publisher's end. So you really need to work on the music to make substantial income for you to be able, for a publisher to see you and be like, okay, this catalog will be good and want to work with you or give you an advance for that. Another thing publishers do is, all this, when you hear about songwriting camps, there are songwriting camps, you hear of Sonny doing songwriting camps, you hear of, lots of publishers always do the songwriting camps. Why? Because they want to put their writers with producers who will create hit songs, hit tracks, who will create magic in the studio. And that's the reason why you have a lot of camps, really, especially when it's done by a publisher. A lot of times, these publishers have writers, producers, artists who they want to put in certain rooms, and they bring these people together, they camp them for a couple of days, and they create magic, right? So that's another work of your publisher. So when your publisher is collecting your publisher's share, another part of the publishing income they collect is the mechanical rights, which your PRO does not pay you, right? Your PRO is only concerned about your performance royalties. They do not concern themselves with mechanical royalties. In the US and some other territories, you will find that they have a body or an organization collecting for performance, and they have a separate organization collecting for mechanicals. In Nigeria, it's different. Nigeria, the same body collects for mechanicals, the same body collects for performance, the same body collects for neighboring rights. The neighboring rights is payment on the masters. And today we're dealing with the composition of the masters. So neighboring rights, mechanicals and performance collected by the MCSN in Nigeria. In the US, it's different. The mechanical licensing commission collects for the mechanical royalties, and the PROs collect performance royalties. So what it is if you are registered as a publisher and a writer on the PROs, you are only going to be getting the performance royalties. That means you're leaving the mechanical royalties on the table. And the mechanical royalties is part of what you're supposed to be earning on your publishing. So that means where you're supposed to earn 100, you're only getting 50, which is performance royalties, right? So, and then some of you even you're not signed up to any PRO. So obviously you're also leaving the writer's share on the table. So the pie is just getting smaller and smaller for you, right? And, that's why on Yivera, we've said, you know what, we're not going to leave anything on the table. If you're not registered to a PRO, that's fine and good. We'll collect for you. Just authorize us to do that, because otherwise you're leaving money on the table. And then if you're registered with a PRO and you're registered as a writer alone, you need a publisher. That's where Yivera comes in. If you're registered as both a writer and a publisher, you still have to go register with the MLC for you to be able to collect your mechanicals. And the truth is, the reason why you should work with a publisher is because when you're talking about PRO, oh, I'm registered with BMI, I'm registered with ASCAP, how many registrations can you really do? So you register in BMI, you register with PRS, you register with the Spanish, you register with the Asian. Like, how many registrations can you do? Which is why the publisher is very important, because the publisher is able to partner with multiple organizations across the globe to be able to collect all of the royalties across the globe. That's not something you can do, even if you decide to administer your own catalog. You decide to register it yourself and go after it. Okay, you register here, you register there. How many registrations can you do? That's why the publisher is important, because all of these organizations, they put it in one and they present it to you. And that's what Yivera is doing. We're partnering up with multiple organizations, different territories, and making sure that we're collecting all the royalties that are accrued to any writer's account that's assigned to us across the globe, in all territories. We're in Asia, we're in Europe, we're in America, we're in Africa. We're just partnering up as much as we can to make sure that nobody is leaving money on the table. That's why you should be signed up on Yivera. If you're not signed up, I think this is a cue to let you know that, okay, if you want to take this music business seriously, you have to be signed up to a publisher, because no matter how much you want to administer your account or your songs, you need the publisher to be able to collect everything. You need the publisher to be able to go out and collect everything. So having established what the publisher does, the types of deals that you find in the publishing scene, let's then talk about how to use Yivera specifically. So if you go on our website, you go to, and I'd like you to start putting down your questions. If possible, put it in the chat box so that you can see the questions and I can address them, because we don't have a lot of time. When you go to Yivera, yivera.com, you see the distribution, you sign up, right? You sign up and you create an account. You see the distribution where you can upload your music, you can, create a release. You find that you are either asked to sign the publishing agreement upon creating the account, but that's not about it. Just signing that agreement does not mean that you are now publishing with Yivera. No, that's not what it means. It only means you are interested, and perhaps we will reach out to you and ask you further questions. But when you sign up, when you sign that agreement, you still have to do something for that. You have to go to the publishing section. So there's a drop down on the left hand side of the site, of the website. You will see where you create a release. You also see where publishing is. So you go to publishing, you click on it, and you pay a $20 one-time fee for administering your account. A lot of other providers do not give you this kind of service for a $20. We have made it very easy, very accessible, and very affordable for our users, because we don't want you leaving money on the table. So we're only charging you a $20 one-time fee for now, subject to change. But for now, it's a one-time fee, which is why you should start right now to register, because sometime along the line it might change, right? So, but in any case, right now it's $20. You sign up, you pay that fee, then you begin to upload your work. You tell us if you distributed the song on Yivera, all you have to do is just let us know that it's distributed on Yivera, and some of the information that we require will pop up. And then you go ahead and fill the form, you fill the lyrics, you let us know how many minutes the song is for. You also go ahead and tell us what shares you have. You have a share with the producer, you have a share with other artists, other writers. Let us know who is collecting what. So we need a complete breakdown of the shares. You cannot give us your share and leave out the other shares. Everybody has to be accounted for. So all the shares have to amount to 100%. So make sure that when you're filling it, it amounts to 100%. 50%. A lot of artists or a lot of producers do not have this understanding with their artists. So a lot of times we have issues where somebody is collecting 100 when they're supposed to be collecting 50. So make sure that you don't have that kind of issue. So put the shares, the correct shares in. Now, when you have done that, you submit to us, we take it from there and we move and we ensure that your song is registered and that, we collect on it. But like I said, don't expect that you're going to get money on, just because you registered for publishing. If your song is not doing well, you're likely not be making any money on publishing. So at the end of the day, you have to make sure that you're chasing the right things in marketing your music and making sure that people are hearing you, making sure that the content is clean, making sure that you're out there, you're putting yourself out, and you're, doing what you ought to do in promoting yourself. Good thing is, Yivera, we've partnered up with a partner that is willing to advance our artists that are qualified for that service, right? And I think we sent out notes to let you know. We sent out an email to let you know that we are partnered up with one of our partner is willing to advance our users, but you have to meet the criteria. And you can check the email to understand, or we give you further details on that criteria. But the important thing is that you are studying this business and you are understanding what you need to do to get your music heard and to be in front of people, which is why you created the music in the first place, for people to hear you. Right. Today we're not talking marketing, but I just needed to mention that because I don't want anybody coming back and saying, "Oh, Yivera, you didn't pay my publishing. It's not Yivera's fault. Yivera did not collect publishing because Yivera did not see your publishing income." So you need to generate income for us to be able to collect it. All right. So now let's talk about the different. So even after you feel that, now let me talk about the different ways you can generate publishing income. So when your song is played on the radio, you generate publishing income. When your song is played in a stadium, you generate publishing income. When your song is played in a restaurant, you generate publishing income. When your song is played online during a stream, you generate publishing income. And sometimes you have to inform us of this income that you have generated. So some of you do a lot of marketing on radio. You send your music out to DJs, you send your music out to OAPs, you send your music out to radios, and they play these songs and they tell you sometimes when they play it, or you just come across your song and you are aware that your song is on the radio. You have to inform your publisher when such a thing happens, because we are not monitoring the usage of your song. And that's another thing that I need to point out, right? Publishers generally do not monitor usage of the songs. So you, as an artist, if you have several stations playing your song consecutively, consistently, you have to inform your publisher using a sheet. There's a sheet that is provided for that. This usage is usage such as streaming, when someone uses your song on a live stream, usage such as radio play, usage such as public performance, for instance, a live performance at a stadium or at a venue or, at a concert. All of these usages, you have to report it. You have to give us the specific details of these performances so that we can go after the money. We can't just assume, okay, I'll take, for instance, some of our users, gospel artists. Your song is being used in a crusade, for instance, right? You have to inform your publisher that, okay, at so and so event, at so time, on so day, was the event ticketed? Was it a free event? You have to give us the details so that we can go to the proper body that is responsible for collecting or for paying out that publishing income to collect it on your behalf. Without the information, we do not know. You see, so it's something that you have to monitor as an artist or as a as a composer, as a writer, you need to know where your song is being used, and you need to inform your publisher so that your publisher collects. So even in movies, if your song, for instance, is used in a movie, you need to tell us where that song was used. The movie title, the movie, at the point where the movie, the song was used in the movie, and this sheet is called a cue sheet. So you put in all these details, and we go after the producers or the directors of the movie or whoever it is that's, in charge of the movie. Maybe it's a library, maybe it's, whoever has licensed the music or has used the music, and we go for the royalties that is supposed to be, paid to. So these are places where publishing royalties accrue, because on the other end, you still get publishing royalties from the digitals, because mechanical royalties is generated. But I don't want to go into all of those specific details because it could get a bit confusing, and this is not in as much as it is some kind of I won't call it a lecture. It's some kind of we are learning, yes, but it's not actually a lecture per se, so we can't really go into all of the details. But I just wanted to let you know the places where publishing income generates from, the places and the things you have to do as an artist, because this is a business. You have to go after your money. You have to be serious about going after your money. You have to let the publisher know when the music is used. So all those times when the radio is playing your song and they're tagging you, or you're in the radio, you're in a car and you hear your song on the radio, take note of it. Take note of it, put it down, let us know, let's go after your money. Because radio stations are supposed to license the music they play on the radio, and they're supposed to pay out they're supposed to pay out some money on those music or music that they are using. So if your music is being played, it's supposed to be paid for. So these places are the places, if you go to a restaurant, you hear the music, you can let us know. So now let's talk about the types of publishing. Okay, I think I mentioned that already, which is the publishing where you get an advance, where the publisher is very much involved, at the administration publishing, which is something that which is what we're doing, which is just administering your catalog. And I've also spoken, I think I've basically covered it, all of the notes that I made here. Let's see. Okay. So I think maybe at this point we should take questions, because it's just 15 minutes to go. So I would like to know what questions you have in mind, what it is that you would like to understand, and what you'd like me to explain further. Split sheet. Yarulene, I don't know if you're still here. So what exactly are you asking about the split sheet? What exactly is your question? Are you asking what a split sheet is? Are you asking how to use a split sheet? Are you asking what is a split sheet? So let me just try to explain what a split sheet is. It's simply a document that is saying party A, B, C, or D have participated in writing a composition. And when we say writing a composition, we're not talking about the lyrics alone. When you hear writing in music terms, writing includes both the lyrics and the sound which the producer has made. So when you're called a writer, even as an artist, you're called a writer is because you've contributed something to the composition. So whatever has to do with the composition, you're called a writer. So we don't generally distinguish between a producer and an artist, or a lyric writer and a beat maker. We just call it writing, or we call you a writer. So as a writer, anybody who has written on that composition is supposed to be in the split sheet with the percentage based on their contribution or based on negotiation or agreement. So like I said when I started, usually standard is the beat has 50% and the lyrics has 50%, but sometimes it differs based on agreement and negotiation, by parties. So yes, you have everyone accounted for. If 3 people were on the composition, if 3 people were part of the composition, producer, a co-producer, and artist, the 3 of them should be in the split sheet. And then you tell you say what each person gets. So if the producer has a co-producer, most likely the 50% on the beat is split between both of them. So as I was saying, the split sheet is required because that's where you determine who's getting what on the composition. So like I said, if a producer were to get a songwriter to just write the song and get an artist to perform it, the artist does not necessarily have to have publishing because all they did was perform. So they can have a share of the masters or the recording, but they don't necessarily have to have publishing. But all of it is based on negotiation, like I mentioned earlier. Now, someone is asking, in the case where it's the artist that submitted into a song to the radio for playtime, used to go after the media house royalties. So as long as the song is played, it doesn't matter where they got it from. They could have, the radio could have gotten it themselves, downloaded the song themselves, or you could have submitted it to them. As long as it is played, definitely your publisher, once you let us know, we will go after it. The first thing first is that you let us know once we are aware. We are here for the business. We are with you. We are joining hands with you. We're going after that money. So once you let us know that this radio station or that radio station played my song at so, and you have to give us correct information, because the thing is, radios have their cue sheet as well. The same way you're going to give us a cue sheet, they have their cue sheet. So when the song is played, they are aware, because there's a system that records songs that they play. They have a system themselves. So you also should have your system, that kind of is able to track the songs and how they are played. So if there are any other questions, feel free to put them in the chat box. Someone is raising their hand. Are we taking questions on all? Okay, maybe we should do that. Victor.
Hey, yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Joy. I must say I had a very educative session with you. A lot of questions that I had have been answered and clarity has been given. Now, I had registered with Broadcast Music Inc., that's BMI, in 2021, and I did the registration as both writer and publisher. And on the dashboard, on BMI's dashboard, you could see that there's a 200% share on the first work I'd registered, my first single in 2021, right? So now my question.
Go over it again. You said there's something on the song you registered.
Yeah. I had registered with BMI in 2021.
Okay.
As a writer and as a publisher.
Okay.
Right. So now, by what you just said, by this new knowledge, by what you just said, now you said how many registrations can we do with this number of bodies available? That even if we register as publisher on the BMI, we still have a lot of other bodies we should register with, and then the Yivera has an upper hand on all these things. So my question is, regardless of the registration I had made in 2021 as both publisher and writer, can I still license Yivera to go ahead to collect or register with other necessary bodies so that these royalties can be collected?
Okay, so let me correct the misconception, just in case. Okay, I was misconstrued. So when you register with a PRO, you're only expected to register with one PRO at a time. As an artist or as a writer, you're only expected to register with only one PRO because you only have one IPR. You cannot do multiple; it would clash. The people collecting will clash. You can only register with one. So if you're registered with BMI, PRS, ASCAP, you can only have one registration active at a time. In fact, if you try to register on multiple, they will ask you, and if you say you already registered with one, you will not be allowed to register with multiple because it will create confusion. That is why the publisher is the best option. The reason is because we are not writers. We are not. We are a body, not a body now, but like we are, charged with collecting wherever collection is allowed, if I could say that. So what it is for us, we're able to get into multiple partnerships. We're able to reach out to multiple territories that your PRO may not be able to reach. Now, the thing is, if you register with BMI should be able to collect from multiple territories as well. So once you're registered with one, you don't need multiple, because that one is going to liaise, because they have, they have partnerships between themselves where they just, report to each other, they collect for each other, they remit to each other. They have that going. But what it is that you're not certain just how far it's going. And the reason is because BMI, for instance, collects only performance. So what about your mechanicals? Who is collecting that for you, right? Because, for instance, in the US, you have the PROs and you have the mechanical licensing. So who's collecting the mechanicals? And which is why the publisher is good, because there are other territories where the PRO is only able to, or is only going to be liaising with other PROs who are collecting only performance. So you still need somebody who's going to be going after the mechanicals, right? And especially in those territories where mechanicals is different from performance. So territories where you have one organization for performance, you have another organization for mechanicals, who's going to go after the mechanicals? Your PRO is likely going to be going after the performance, who is their sister body or sister agency in that territory. So it's always best for you. I don't even see any argument for self-publishing. I don't see an argument for it, because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of it's a lot of mistakes that could be made, because that's not your core business. And so you could literally leave a lot of money on the table, which is why it's good to work with the publisher whose business is strictly censored.
Yeah, very true. I really get what you're saying. Yeah, very, very true. There's no debate on if a publisher is right enough to collect this royalties. But now, this what are we having now? This seminar came, like, it's happening in 2025, and some of us had started on publishing from 2021, right? So I could say some of the stuff we are experiencing now would come from probably ignorance, or the fact that we're not properly informed at the time, or there were no options like we have right now that Yivera is giving, right?
Yeah.
So I believe for BMI, there should be a period of agreement where after, I believe I was reading at one point, maybe they said after 2 years, you can renew your, what's it called, contract, and then continue with the publishing organization. So I believe after, or depending if there is an agreement that would say, okay, I would not want to continue with the partnership we had, myself and BMI, right? So if that is the case, you get to do documentations, and then once that happens, you can now go ahead with working with another publishing company.
No, BMI is not a publishing company. So while you're signed to BMI, whoever is on BMI, all they're doing is representing you on the performance end. They are not a publisher. They are an organization or an agency, we call them that. They are not a publisher. So you still need a publisher. When you're signed to BMI, you are given your IPI number, a number that allows you to, that unites all of your work. So that number is what is identifying you as the writer. So once you're signed with either of them, and if you are, you still need a publisher, you still need Yivera. So you can still sign up. Let me answer the next question. You're registered with BMI. Can I register with Yivera? Yes, actually. We advise that you sign up with a PRO or a collection, a PRO for your IPI number, or to be able to collect your writer's share directly if you want that. But if you're not able to, for one reason or the other, you can sign up with Yivera, will collect all of it for you. You just have to let us know and authorize us to collect both writers and publishers' share, just so that we can conclude on the chat. I'm seeing a lot of questions. I'm not sure if Victor wants to ask any other question. Just hold on for now.
Just finally, before I go, sorry. Yes, I had sent an IPI across to Yivera. I wanted to know how that is going to, like, what Yivera is going to be doing with the API instance, the just the function of Yivera on this.
Well, when you submit your song and you give us a detail and you give us your API number, we're going to impute the API number to be able, like I said, the API number unites your works. So it lets everyone know that this is the same person that is creating all of these works, and it's easy for collection. So the API number is for identification. And I think it's in the name itself, it's an identification number. So Gloria is asking if Yivera can help collect performance royalties. Is there any artists register with a PRO? So like I said earlier, we advise that you do register with a PRO so you can create your API number. You can have that identification that can connect you to all of your works. But we do understand that, sometimes it may be a bit tasking, especially for the PROs that are paid, right? Some of them charge $75, some of them charge up to £100. So it depends on who you want to register with. Others are free. So depending on who you want to register with, you could decide, okay, you know what, I can't do this right now. I will just let Yivera collect all of my publishing income. And then that is where you authorize us to collect all of your publishing income, and we do that. But we advise for you to register with PRO simply because it is the usual way of things, and also because we expect that, you will be able to get that identification number that you will be using long into the future, right? In this instance, we're saying if you don't have, not a problem, you can still work with us. But if you do have, let us know and we'll work with it. And if you want to register, I am currently, management is in talks for us to be able to see how we can assist our users to get their API numbers. So that's also something that we're looking forward to putting out on Yivera to make it easy for you to, to be able to register and get your API number. But that's in the coming days, weeks, or months. That's something that we're working on at the moment. So look out for it. We always inform you of everything we want to do by email. So you should also try as much as possible to follow our social handles because we give a lot of information there as well. So if you're up to date, of course, the moment that's available, you will be the first to know. So I think I've answered the questions at this time. You can register with Yivera, whether or not you have a BMI. If you have one, let us know. If you don't, that's fine too. As long as you have money accruing and you give us the authorization to collect all of your publishing, we will collect it. If there are any other questions, go ahead. Okay, I'm trying to look at Victor's question. Victor's asking, in a situation where you are not aware of every location where your song is played, because you wouldn't see how large the world is, and as you said, thinking not be at all places where your song is played, is there a system to track? So that is basically what the publishers and the PROs do, right? There are always multifaceted partnerships, and which is another reason why the publisher is very important. There are multifaceted partnerships that allow us, yes, we understand you cannot be at all places at all times. You can't know when your song is used all the time. But there are times when, usage it's inevitable for you to not be aware. Like, it's not possible that you're not aware, especially when it's generating a lot of income, right? There's a kind of usage that, it's, especially now that the internet is in play, a certain song is used somewhere and it's circulating all around. It's hard to miss. And that kind of usage, of course, has generated some good income. So if there's any usage that you're not getting, it's a couple of things. It's either the publishers or the partners are not able to locate that usage, or the usage is very minimal, that it is not, it doesn't, well, every usage is important, of course, important, but if a usage is such that it has gotten to the point where it has generated income, it will definitely be traced, simply because, when income is generated to a certain level, it's not ignored. It will not be ignored by the PROs. It will not be ignored by the publishers. It will definitely be collected. So what you need to do as an artist is just to ensure that to the best of your ability, you are reporting usage that you are aware of. Then leave the rest to the publishers and the PROs to do their job of collecting. Now, the interesting thing is, we also have affiliations with PROs. We also, have to have an understanding with these PROs, and they have understanding with multiple other territories. So it's an interconnection. I can't tell you exactly how it works, because you cannot say, when there are several wires connected, they are all working together to ensure that a certain device is working properly. You cannot say which one to disconnect or connect. All of it is working together to make the system or the machine to work. That's basically how the publishing works. All the parts are working together to ensure that your publishing income is traced and collected, right? I cannot tell you at what point one publisher will work with, I can't tell you at each point what each person will do. It's just a machine that works, together, and part of it is you. You are part of the machine. Your reportage or your reporting is part of the machine, while the publisher and the PRO is also part of the machine. So don't take yourself out of the equation. The mechanical royalties is sometimes collected by the mechanical. That's Yivera asking a question. Who collects the mechanical royalties? It's collected by the Mechanical Licensing Commission, and that is for territories that have it separately. Some territories, the same body collects both royalties. So, for instance, the Nigerian situation, the NCSN collects both the performance and the mechanicals. So it's not separate. But there are other major territories where it's separate. Different bodies collect different royalties. So that depends on the territory you're working with and the territory you're collecting from. It's the advantage of collecting St. Louis, I'm not sure what your question is exactly. What could a disadvantage be? I don't see any disadvantage of having a publisher collect your publishing income, because, like I said, it is multifaceted in the sense that the publisher has the ability or is in a position to partner up with multiple agencies, multiple organizations. Unlike the writer, you are just one person. And no matter how huge your catalog is, you're still just one person. So it's different when you're talking about publisher, because the publisher is representing multiple writers. And so he's in a better position to negotiate. He's in a better position to demand. He's also in a better position to, to collaborate, because the publisher has multiple writers and agencies are looking for, those kinds of publishers who they can partner with. So on the advantages, there are numerous advantages. One is that your catalog will be well administered. You would have representation in possibly every single territory that publishing income exists. The disadvantages, I can't think of any right now. And I think Yivera has made it very easy and very affordable for everyone to be able to, have a publishing account and be able to go after a publishing income. Is it right to report usage of your song on radio if you are the one that's submitted it for FA? Correct. Yes, it is right to report usage. However, wherever that usage comes from, even if it's your friend that is on the radio that played your song on the radio, you should report that usage because it was played on the radio and that is usage. And so, yes, if you report it, you will go after it. So I want to also call into question a specific instance where your song maybe is being used for a concert, for a crusade, just because we have some gospel artists because where your song is used in that kind of situation, you also have to report it as a live performance. We have a sheet that's available on Publishing. If not right now available, it will be available in another week or two. And we will definitely let you know once it's available so that you can make those reports. But you can on your own start keeping notes of all of these usages. If your song is used in a concert, in any event where, there's like a stage, there's a performance, that's a live performance of your song, it should be reported as a live performance usage. And there's supposed to be payout on that. If your song is used, for instance, a situation where a church is streaming and they are streaming on YouTube and they use your song in the background or they perform your song at that, whatever it is they're doing and it's streaming live, you also need to report it as a streaming usage. So we would have all of this in our publishing platform where you can go in and submit the usage. You can let us know who, where, and what. And then when you submit that, we'll have that information and we'll that information will collect on that usage. I think for us not to spend too much time, we should go ahead and wrap it up. We can always come back next time, or you could reach us via social media. You can ask questions at another time. Just take this last question by Victor. There was an instance where Yivera had mentioned that publishing would be free for a period of time and songs were submitted. Is there, I'm not sure what your question is about, Victor, but yes, there was a time when it was free and we would, ask you to register for free. Those who registered for free right now are having their songs administered for free. But if you didn't register at that time, you have to pay a $20 sign-up fee, a one-time sign-up fee right now. The thing about it is the more time you spend contemplating, deliberating, changes are happening. So, you don't know what tomorrow would look like. You don't know if there would be a change in administration or in management could decide to, go a different route. But at this time, it's a one-time $20. So take advantage of that. If Yivera is collecting the royalty, and this is the last question, if Yivera is collecting the royalty and the publishing, what is their sharing? What is there any share ratio to this? Of course, there's always an admin fee attached to the administration of your work. So all publishers would always charge an admin fee because what we do is administration. We are looking for your money. We are looking for ways to find your money. So there is, yes, an admin fee and or rather a sharing ratio, which is 20% for Yivera, 20% for Yivera and 80% to the writer. So yeah, that answers your question. There's a sharing formula, 20% to Yivera and 80% to the writer. So just so we are aware and just to put this out, we also work with sub-publishers. We work with publishers as their name. We administer your publishing catalog if you have multiple writers under you, so you can also work with us. What you can do as a publisher is to send us a message to let us know that you have multiple writers you're working with, and we will help set you up in order to administer your catalog. So whether you're an individual writer or you have multiple writers under you, Yivera is here for you. On that note, I would like to say thank you to everyone who was on the call, who was with us today. I hope that to a large extent, we've been able to clear up some doubts and that we've been able to address some, some difficulties you had with the publishing, and that when we call, we would answer. Thank you to everyone. My name is Joy, on behalf of Yivera, and everyone on my team. We say thank you for joining us and see you next time.